Are your words manifesting your reality without you even knowing it? In today's society, most people actually use language to their detriment, without even realizing the things that they are putting out to others and internalizing back to themselves through repeated affirmation and the thoughts that they have been given, either through the influence of friends or programming from systems like school or work. That's not to say being a hermit with no friends or objective in life is the way to go. But after watching this video, I think you'll start to pick up on some not so subtle ways that you, or maybe people in your life, speak, versus how their lives are playing out in real time. Today we're going to explore the concept of spelling, but not in the usual way we would talk about spelling a word with letters. Today we're talking about unconscious spell casting. That's right, the idea that words you speak or even think could be acting like spells, shaping your world in ways you've never imagined. I say unconscious because the vast majority of people, at least that I'm acquainted with, are just that, absolutely oblivious to the impact that words and thoughts have. But I'm hoping after this video you'll be armed with the knowledge of why you should watch what you say and think about yourself, and maybe even catch some friends and family out so you can warn them too. Before we go too far down this rabbit hole, you might already have a lot of questions about the information I've dumped on you so far.
What are you talking about?
So let's go back to the science for a second. Let's kick things off with an example that will really make you think. How many of you have heard of the rice experiment? For those who haven't, this experiment is often attributed to Dr. Masaru Emoto, a Japanese researcher famous for his work on how words and thoughts can affect water crystals. While his methods have been widely debated, the rice experiment inspired by his work has been replicated many times, often with surprising results. So here's how it goes. People take 3 jars of cooked rice and water. One jar gets positive affirmations like "I love you" or "You're amazing." The second jar gets negative words like "I hate you" or "You're worthless." And the third jar gets completely ignored. After about a month, many people report that the loved jar remains relatively mold-free and the hated jar turns black and moldy. The jar that got ignored also deteriorates, though not usually as badly as the hated jar. This is also a really easy experiment to replicate if you guys are interested in seeing it for yourselves. Now, whether you view this as scientific proof or not, you can't deny that it makes you wonder. If words alone can have such an effect on rice, imagine what they could be doing to us, to our minds, our bodies, and our realities. This brings us back to our central question. Are you unconsciously casting spells with your words? So we've seen how a simple experiment with rice can raise questions about the power of words, but the idea that words can influence reality is far from new. In fact, it's as old as human history. The Egyptians, for example, held words and their written forms in high regard. Hieroglyphs were considered sacred, hieroglyph literally meaning sacred carving, and words were thought to have power to bring things into existence. Many Native American tribes also have a rich oral tradition, believing that words and stories are imbued with the power to shape reality. Ritualistic chants and storytelling sessions were, and are, common, often serving the purpose of healing, blessing, or cursing. Here, the sound and intention behind words were considered as crucial as the words themselves. Think about it, the word spell not only means to arrange letters to form words, but also refers to a magical formula or charm. There's a reason these two meanings share the same term. In various occult practices, it's believed that uttering specific words in a particular manner can invoke energies or forces that bring about change. Many words have roots that reveal strange dual meanings. For instance, the root word man is found in both manipulate and mantra. While one has a negative connotation of controlling or exploiting, the other is considered a positive tool for focus and enlightenment in spiritual practices. The word spirits is used to describe alcohol, but it also is used to refer to supernatural beings or the essence of a person. The term originates from the Latin spiritus, meaning breath, which adds another layer of meaning when you think about breath of life or divine breath. For these traditions, a word isn't just a sound or symbol, it's a key that can unlock higher dimensions, healing energies, or even curses. And it's not just the words themselves, but the intention and focus behind them that amplify their power. But before you start flipping through dusty grimoires or ancient texts, let me tell you that the power of words isn't limited to secret societies or esoteric rituals. It's something we all engage with every day, often without realizing it. Now that we've seen how ancient traditions viewed the power of words, let's fast forward to modern psychology. The field has given us some valuable insights into how our internal dialogue shapes our reality. You might have heard of self-talk, aka the voices in our head. That's the term psychologists use to describe the constant dialogue we have with ourselves. While you might not think the words are magical in the way a spell is, self-talk certainly influences how we feel and act. Negative self-talk, for example, has been linked to higher stress levels and lower self-esteem. But here's the good news. Techniques like cognitive restructuring, often used in CBT, not the kind you're thinking of though, I'm talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, teach us to catch, challenge, and change our negative thoughts. It's like rewriting the script of your own life. You identify harmful or irrational thoughts, challenge their validity, and then replace them with healthier alternatives. I can't lie though, when I was told about the general idea of CBT as a teenager, I thought it was some boring mumbo jumbo promoted as a surface level cope by psychologists or therapists to justify charging $300 per session to wine ants with failed marriages. But it's not just in the therapy room that this general idea is talked about. As we talked about a second ago, religious and spiritual traditions also recognize the power of words. Prayers, chants, and mantras are all forms of positive affirmations meant to invoke divine help or inner change. And let's not forget sports rituals. Many athletes have specific phrases or affirmations they repeat to get into the zone before a big game. One that was popping up in my feed recently was LeBron's pre-game rituals. Clearly there's nothing spoken out loud to signify spelling, but the thoughts and intentions behind these actions must be extremely absolute and must buff his resolve during matches. If even one of the GOATs of basketball is practicing this publicly before a game, just imagine the fortress he must have built in his mind with the correct use of spelling, internally and externally. So whether it's through therapy, affirmations, prayers, or even gearing up for a big game, words hold power in our everyday lives. They can either be limiting or liberating. The choice is yours. With that said, what happens when we don't choose our words wisely? What if, inadvertently, we're casting negative spells on ourselves or others? We've all heard of jinxing ourselves, the idea that speaking about something you hope will happen might actually prevent it from occurring. While it's often taken lightly, the psychology behind it isn't trivial. Negative self-talk or speech can manifest in destructive ways. For example, constantly telling yourself, "I'm not good enough," can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. It could affect your performance at work, your relationships, and even your mental health. In this sense, you might be hexing yourself without realizing it. Of course, unless you're truly surrounded by people that actively go out of their way to put you down, I'm sure the negative self-talk is a lot less basic than just a simple, "what if I'm not good enough?" It can come from many ways that I feel are often more subtle, and I'm sure the negative side of spelling differs in each person's internal monologue. And let's not forget the impact spelling can have on others, whether it's in the form of gossip, slander, or even offhand comments that may seem harmless. Words cause real damage, especially to those who don't know how to mentally defend themselves or repel these spells. So what can we do to harness the power of words properly? And how can we undo negative spells that we may cast unintentionally? First things first is to be mindful. And while it might seem easy, if you aren't constantly monitoring your thoughts and what you're going to say either to yourself or to others in conversation, you can fall back into the same patterns as before. The first step to harnessing the power of words is to become aware of your language, both internal and external. Listen to yourself. Are you leaning towards more negativity or positivity? The next thing is to replace the negative self-talk. For example, I've had quite too many days in the gym where you think to yourself, "Oh bro, I'm not feeling strong today. I don't have the energy to perform this next set as hard as I should." And I go through the rest of the session just fighting with my own laziness until I've completed my workout. But I have had some days where I'm going through this mental battle until a thought will pop into my head that changes my attitude. Most of these thoughts are personal to me, but perhaps replacing negative self-talk is not by simply feigning positivity, but harnessing the negativity directed at you from others is a useful way of using spelling to harness your full potential. For example, the forbidden pre-workout meme where the guy reads all of his ex's long breakup messages, which then fuels him to train even harder. The next thing is to always set clear intentions. When speaking or even thinking about something you desire, be as clear and specific as possible. Vagueness can leave room for misunderstandings, not just with the people you're talking to, but with the universe at large. For dealing with other people's spells out in the world, I have a simple strategy that in the right situation can be more effective than just accepting confrontation, especially in a formal setting or talking to a superior where escalation probably isn't the best move to make. You may have heard of aikido, the Japanese martial art that emphasizes using your opponent's energy against them rather than confronting it head on. Well, verbal aikido works on the same principle, but in the realm of conversation. It allows you to navigate and guide conversations, particularly those that might be confrontational or harmful, into a more balanced and harmonious direction. As a strategy to counteract negative spelling or harmful words and thoughts from others, verbal aikido can be a powerful tool. Let's say someone criticizes you unfairly, perhaps calling you lazy or ineffective. Instead of internalizing these words as a spell that has power over you, or responding aggressively and escalating the situation, you could use verbal aikido to redirect the energy. So here's a simple framework you can follow. Instead of opposing the force of verbal attack, blend with it. Acknowledge that the person has a right to their opinion without agreeing that they are correct. For example, you could say, "I understand you think I'm ineffective. It sounds like you have strong feelings about this." After blending, you then gently lead the conversation to a more constructive place. You might say, "I'd love to know what specific actions led you to that opinion. Can you help me understand it?" Finally, seek to balance the energy of the conversation by steering it towards a mutually beneficial outcome or understanding. This not only diverts the situation, but also confuses the person who's criticizing you because you haven't fallen into their traps. And by traps, I mean, obviously they want like a confrontation, right? So it's like, if you're not going into the confrontation and you do this aikido method instead, it kind of annoys them as well sometimes, like if you don't like the person. So by saying that, verbal aikido doesn't have to be just used in defense. It can be a way of life, a way of harmonizing your interactions with the world around you. But remember, words are not just words. They carry energy, intent, and yes, even the power to spell our realities. And so, my friends, in mastering the art of verbal aikido, you're not just becoming more skillful conversationalists, you're becoming architects of a more positive, balanced reality for yourselves and those who you interact with. You're essentially a spellcaster in the narrative of your life and those around you. You have this incredible power at your disposal. The real question is, how will you use it? Consider a hammer. In the hands of a carpenter, it's a tool to build a home, offering shelter and comfort. In another context, it could be a weapon, causing harm and destruction. The hammer remains the same, it's the intention behind its use that defines its role. Similarly, your words can build up or tear down, create or destroy. Whenever you speak, you have the opportunity to be a mindful spellcaster. You can craft your words to inspire, to heal, to bring about understanding and peace, or you can wield them thoughtlessly, causing confusion, divisiveness, or pain. Every syllable, every sentence is a choice, a spell that you're casting into the world. If you made it to the end of the video, please hit the like button as it helps not only my ego boost but the algorithm to pump it into other people's recommendations, and leave a comment because I reply to all the comments. I really appreciate the comments a lot. So thanks for watching guys, I'll speak to you later.